Now, about 4 or so years ago now, I took a large amount of money out of my savings and I invested a large lump sum into the JP Morgan Equity Premium Income ETF known as ticker symbol JEPI. I spent about $65,000 or $70,000 on JEPI, which bought me around 1,200 shares more or less across multiple different portfolios. And along the past 4 years, there's not really much to complain about when it comes to JEPI. This ETF has paid me consistent dividends every single month, more or less, and has also grown in price over time, making me up a bunch on my initial investments. But in this video, I want to go over my initial investment into JEPI, share with you guys how much I earn in dividends on a monthly basis with my 1,200 plus shares of JEPI that I currently own. I also want to share with you guys how much I'm up on my position over the past 4 or so years. And then lastly, later on, I also want to share with everyone my final thoughts on JEPI and why I currently don't buy any more JEPI across my portfolios and haven't for a while moving forward. So if you're a dividend investor interested in income producing assets like JEPI, JEPQ, or others, then make sure to stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. If you are a dividend investor who wants to level up your portfolio, you need to be tracking your dividend income consistently. And that's why I created the perfect dividend tracker that I've used to scale my dividend income up to all-time highs over the last year. Now, along with this dividend tracker, you're also going to receive my A to Z dividend investing ebook, which shows you how I personally started from $0 several years ago to now where I earn over $7,500 per month in dividends. So if you want this tracker and the ebook, go to the first link down below in my description and grab it today. Now, just to be fully transparent before we dig a little bit deeper into the JEPI ETF, I wanted to share with you guys the position I currently have as of right now. I currently have around 1,218 shares of JEPI across my portfolios. I did own a little bit more JEPI. I think I sold off 100 or maybe 200 shares at some point, but as of right now, this is where we're sitting. Now, my average cost per share when it comes to JEPI is somewhere in the $52 or $53 range, and because JEPI is currently trading at just under $60 per share, that means that I'm not only up substantially as far as my initial cost for JEPI, but also along with that, I've been getting paid out income from JEPI every single month. Now, to take things back even further, for those of you guys that don't really know what the heck JEPI ETF even is, it's an income producing ETF from JP Morgan, and it seeks consistent premium income with lower volatility. This ETF basically invests in the constituents of the S&P 500, and then along with that, there's a discipline option overlay, which implements written out of the money S&P 500 index call options that seek to generate distributable monthly income. Now, JEPI is sort of one of the OGs in the cover call income oriented ETF spaces. It's not the first to do it, and it's definitely not the last, but it is one of the most popular across the entire landscape. The expense ratio for JEPI is very cheap at 0.35%. I say that's cheap because these days with some of these premium income ETFs, you can see expense ratios up to 1% or even above. Now, one of the most important things to talk about when it comes to JEPI is maybe the dividends that this ETF has paid over time. And over the last year or so, the dividends have been getting a little bit bigger, which has been awesome. Anywhere from 40 cents all the way down to as low as 30 cents a few months. This was earlier this year. Now, this is one of the sort of bad things about JEPI is that especially with having over 1,200 shares, if this ETF pays as low as 28 or 30 cents on a monthly basis like it has a few times in the last year, it's going to be a substantial less amount of money compared to if it pays 40 cents per month. So you sort of are banking on the fact that there's volatility in the markets on any given month, and hopefully your dividend is going to be towards the higher end of the trailing 12. But that's something that I've just gotten a little bit more used to over the years, but it does mean that my dividend income from JEPI alone could swing easily $100 this way or that way, depending on whatever month we're at. Now, like I shared with you guys, I purchased around 4 years ago. The majority of my JEPI shares are around $53 or so per share. And now with the trading at around 60, that's not bad whatsoever. Again, considering I bought this ETF for income production, I didn't really buy it to get rich off of the upside, but hey, I'll take it. And to be honest, when it comes to these income-oriented ETFs, as long as they're not decaying over time, I'm honestly happy. I'm happy at earning an 8%, 9%, 12% yield per year. Even if the ETF trades sideways, sign me up all day. But over the max time frame, JEPI is up almost 20%, which is not bad whatsoever, like I said, considering it's also paid an 8%, 10%, 12% yield, depending on what time frame you're looking at. Now, maybe in the past year or so, there's been a lot of critics that sort of hate on JEPI or maybe just aren't really as fond of it compared to JEPQ, the JP Morgan NASDAQ Equity Premium Income ETF, which is JEPI's brother or sister, I guess you could say, which for me personally, JEPQ is also a large position in my portfolio, but honestly, JEPI and JEPQ have not done bad whatsoever, and there's really no reason to hate on either. Now, I get it because JEPQ utilizes the NASDAQ, there's probably a little little bit more upside potential maybe, and along with that the dividend payouts have been a little bit higher, but still either way for an investor like myself that's not trying to be overly greedy, I'm very happy with both JEPQ and JEPI's returns. Now before I share with you guys how much I personally earn per month with my 1,218 shares at JEPI, along with my final thoughts and why I'm not buying JEPI anymore. This is again why I say there's absolutely no reason whatsoever to hate on JEPI, because over the past 4.55 years, which I've held this ETF during the majority of its life so far, it's offered an average annual total return of 13.48%, or an average 11.5% if dividends are not being reinvested. Now over the years, I have been reinvesting my dividends, not into more JEPI, but maybe names like JEPQ and others, so it's been an overall very solid investment for me, at least during the time frame that I've held onto it. Now, as far as how much I earn from JEPI on a monthly basis, like I sort of share with you guys, it's going to be different considering JEPI doesn't pay the same exact amount every single month for every single share. So I made two examples. For one, if JEPI, let's say, pays 29 cents on any given month with my 1,218 shares, we're talking around $353, which is not bad whatsoever. But here's where it gets real crazy. If JEPI pays towards the higher end of 41 cents or so per share, we're talking $500 per month. So you can kind of see now why it is sort of annoying in a way to have it be such a big difference sort of months, because I mean either way, no matter how you want to look at it, $150 more on a monthly basis is quite a bit for any size portfolio. But either way, even on the lower end, like I said, I'm still pretty happy with a 29-cent payout, especially because JEPI has not only not decayed but also has grown over time, at least since I've been holding on to it. Now, lastly, I shared with you guys earlier and I said that I'm not buying any more JEPI moving forward, and that's just because I think there's better products out there now that utilize the S&P and also sell cover calls dynamically, for example, like JPIX does. There's other ETFs out there with similar yet different strategies that, in my opinion, do what JEPI do, but maybe even a little bit better. Now, I've talked about a lot of these other S&P 500 premium income ETFs on my channel, so definitely subscribe and look at some other videos if you want to deep dive into any of these. But names like JPIX, for example, is one of my new favorite S&P 500 premium income ETFs, which I've been buying a lot of over the last year. And of course, you can't forget about my favorite SPYI, the NEOS S&P 500 high income ETF, which, like I mentioned, offers a similar strategy to that of JEPI, but does things a little bit different and, in my opinion, maybe even a little bit better. Not to mention SPYI, for example, pays a much more consistent distribution compared to JEPI, and it's also much bigger. Now, all this to say that over the past 4 or so years of ownership of my 1,200 or so shares of JEPI, like I shared multiple times, I'm not upset whatsoever with the 12%, 11%, 13% on average annual total return, along with the fact that the consistent monthly income has been allowing me to compound my portfolio and purchase more different stocks and ETFs consistently. But with my 1,200 shares, I'm pretty much capped out at where I want to have my JEPI position moving forward, so maybe in the future I'll even trim some of it and or not buy more of it from here on out. So now that we talked about the JP Morgan Equity Premium Income ETF JEPI, share with you guys how many shares I have over the last 4 years, how much money I'm up, etc, etc. I lastly, most importantly, want to hear from you guys down below. Do you personally own any shares of JEPI in your portfolio, or just like me, are you more focused on other S&P 500 Premium Income ETFs across the market as of right now? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.